I want to grow this thing even more. So I need someone to help me in that. I didn't go to school for that. That's not what my background is. I have no management experience other than running my company. Like I do food and nutrition, but yet I need to be the CEO. So like I have reached out, I've done certain books on topics, and like I'm seeking help. I have an amazing, me and my husband call it Rolodex. It's the people that we know that you can call for X, Y, and Z that are in our network, and like using those people to help you advance in life, and like growing the Rolodex and like building those connections. Because yes, if like sometimes you could be small-minded as a business person. You think I'm going to open one store and this is going to be it, and I'm going to operate and I'm going to do all these jobs. If that's what you want, great. But if you want to grow, you can't do that shit. You need to do it, get it started, let go, and then start the process of the growth.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Masters in Fitness Business Podcast, where you get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And today I have Jillian Tedesco, who owns Fit Flavors, which is a healthy food company. And we're in our club, Catalyst. She was kind enough to join me in person today. So this is something new that we're trying today. So I'm really pleased to have Jillian. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So the reason we've been talking a lot actually, and the reason I wanted to join the show is because I was telling you a lot of the people in Secret Trainer Society, they own gyms all over the country, and I can't really find anybody that, Frank Nash out in Boston does a really good job with a shake bar, but between shake bars and prepared healthy meals, nobody's really made that go. And we were talking about that. So I know you've had Fit Flavors. How long have you had Fit Flavors?
Eight. I've been doing it 11 years.
11 years.
I've had the business for 7. I'm going on 8.
Yeah. But before we get into like what you see from your side, why it doesn't really work in the gym setting, in the studio setting, you want to give our listeners a little bit of background on how you got into this? I mean, because we were just talking about, the meatheads, we're both recovering meatheads. So you want to go back and kind of
divulge a little bit? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So my background did actually start in fitness. At 18, I started dating a bodybuilder, got into the bodybuilding world, and thought that excessive dieting was the way to a healthy lifestyle. So I started eliminating things from my diet, and, quickly started having all those false narratives playing in my head constantly, regardless what people were telling me. I did that for several years. I was always a fitness trainer, and then realized, I wasn't feeling well, wasn't looking the way I wanted to look, but I would just keep restricting. I finally decided to educate myself. I got certified in nutrition, and realized, oh my gosh, like this whole balanced approach, portion control, learning about macronutrients, I'm going to give it a shot. And then when I did, I just exponential results on how well I felt. And then just the weight loss came more natural. I even had 2 kids and was able to get in the best shape of my life after having 2 kids. And during this whole process, I fell in love with food, and I have a big passion for food. And I realized, well, food doesn't have to taste like diet food. And that's why I became a chef. I am culinary trained from Le Cordon Bleu. And I wanted to make meal prep interesting. So I started meal prepping for my clients. That's literally how it started, with 4 clients and a bunch of Tupperware 11 years ago, and bringing it to the gym and serving it. Before I knew it, I was cooking for a couple lawyers and bankers, and then they were referring me other people in their office, and then their neighbors, and the next thing I know, I was in my house for several years, and I had 9 refrigerators in my house. I was cooking for about 80 people in a weekend, and I was driving all over St. Louis to deliver this food, and that was kind of the tipping point where my husband's like, Jillian, you've got a legitimate business here. So we wrote a plan and decided to open our first brick and mortar.
Okay.
And then we grew really rapidly in the first couple years, and we did a little slowdown, had to play catch up, and I want
to circle back to that, but go ahead.
Yeah, and then we acquired a competitor this year, and we are planning to open our 5th location in January next year.
And so that's why I really wanted to have you on the show. Was number one, your healthy eating business is really growing, and you're the first one that I've seen scale it really successfully. But you started out kind of going to gyms, and you even had like remote stores in the training studio where I worked for 22 years, and it didn't work out. And that's where we first met, was back in 2013 when you first came there, and I think you were just starting out.
I think I launched that satellite, like we had the double door fridge in Fitness Edge 1 or 2 weeks before I even opened my first brick and mortar.
Yeah. Yep. So I want to get to that for sure. But first I want to talk about how you first started the brick and mortar, and then leading up to where you broke the business model, and then how you had to recover from that. So walk us through, like, you opened your first brick and mortar. First of all, you opened the satellite store. Why didn't it work?
Okay, so when we first opened the satellite in the Fitness Edge, we didn't know what we were doing, but we were like, yeah, let's get an employee there. So I was also paying an employee, $10 an hour to staff this from 7 to 7. So 12 hours a day, for that also was eating the cost of the money I was making. But the Fitness Edge had 20, 25 trainers, a lot of customers.
I think more, closer to 30.
300 people coming through there a day, maybe. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
It was an awesome facility, and I felt very confident doing it, and it worked. We were generating several thousands of dollars a month from there, and I had just opened my brick and mortar, and it was far enough away from the gym that I don't think a lot of those people came and shopped at our store because they could get it at the Fitness Edge. And we tried to carry a little bit of everything. So we had the full choice of options. I think that is one big thing that deters a customer, is if there aren't a lot of options, and they don't see what they want, they're not going to get it. But what we noticed is, as we opened our second and third location, our third location happened to be in the same area of this gym. And it was literally 5 minutes down the street. And I remember having a conversation with the owner, and him saying, you shouldn't open it there. And I'm like, I'm not going to let my business's future, because it's going to affect the sales from your small satellite. And what we did
and you had a smoothie bar at that location too.
Yeah, we decided to open, we launched which
is a whole separate conversation.
The whole concept of a healthy smoothie that wasn't laced with sugar. So when we did open that, what we noticed was we had this influx of gym members coming to the Creve Coeur location, and it started to monopolize the small
cannibalize.
Thank you.
Yep.
The small satellite location. And I ran the numbers for several months, and through the labor and the spoilage, we were literally, it was costing us about $1,000 a month to be there. And I was like, okay, this is stupid. And we had to cut ties. Not to mention, I had a really cool deal with the owner with the price point and everything. And I just fed him for free. So everything he wanted to eat was for free. And that was kind of the partnership agreement that we made. And I knew that was a good investment, one, because I wanted him eating the food. If he was eating the food consistently 3 or 4 meals a day, people would see him eating the food. He would be talking about the food. It was only going to help me. And it was, what was it cost me? $40 a day retail, but food costs, it wouldn't have cost me that much, you know?
Yep.
So we ended up pulling out of there, and we never really went back to that model after we had 3 stores.
Yeah. So, but he wasn't that facility was the only one you had kind of deals with. So let's talk about that real quick before we talk about how you broke your business model and how you had to kind of reverse engineer it. So why don't you think, I know we talked about it before, but you want to cover that again with the listeners. Why don't you think it works when you have the food in the gym or the training studio?
So if I'm 100% honest, this is...
And one other thing before we go, because I'm going to give you permission here. This is the most I've ever talked to Jillian, and I've known her for a long time, but I love the way she talks. She drops the F-bombs, she cusses. And so I told her that's exactly how I want you to talk on the show. So I'm just giving you permission.
Okay.
I'm laying it
All
out
right.
there. All right.
So the true honesty is like, it's my business, it's not your business. So you don't care about it as much as I do. I think with a lot of these partnerships, people want to bring the food in and make money off of it. Well, my margins are already so small, and like, it's work to go into your facility and put a product there. It's like managing another location, and now you're eating into my margins. And so it's really not profitable for either parties because the margins are so small for the meals. Now, if you're selling thousands of meals, you make it up in volume, but there's no volume that's done in these facilities because the people aren't coming in there to buy food. The people are coming in there for training. So unless you have people on staff that are your salesmen for this product, it just doesn't work. And I've been in enough of these facilities to know, and if I can get the owner on board or the trainers on board with eating the product, it is leaps and bounds ahead. So like, that was why I saw such a value in giving Jadis the food for free. I even gave, I believe the trainers were given 30% off on all the products. So they bought it at nothing. So it was like, everybody there was eating it. So the clients started eating it, and it was enough to do probably, I want to say what we did in sales there for the month. God, it's been a while, but it wasn't over $10,000, but it was probably in that like $5,000 to $8,000 a month in sales, several hundreds of meals. What was I going to say? You know, I think a lot of it was at a discount, which was for the trainers. And I basically give up my margin so they can eat it for me, and they're a brand ambassador. So there's no money made on those transactions. It's the transactions made by their clients. So I was telling him, like, if there's a dietitian or a nutritionist on staff, like I'm talking to another gym currently right now, what I'm trying to work is just have partnerships at gyms and let people know we can be a resource, but don't hassle yourself by trying to keep a fridge. Just let your clients know the resource is available. And like, I know that people will believe in something if they're using it. I was just telling you about CBD. Like, I took a stab at trying to sell CBD for one of my locations. I use it, but I'm not working. My associates are working and they don't use CBD. So we didn't sell any CBD. It kind of goes hand in hand. Like, if you don't believe in the product and you're not using the product, you're not going to sell the product. And that is what we started to notice. What does tend to work is using the gyms as a drop-off location. So having clients go to the meal prep company, place an order, and then just having it dropped off at the gym. We now do deliveries all over St. Louis. So that doesn't—
I see your van driving around.
That's awesome. That doesn't work for us, because why would we deliver it to a gym? Your client's not there. Now they have to make another trip to come back when we can just deliver it to their house. If you truly want them to eat the product, get them to order the food off of our website. I look at it as like, I also know what the interest is of the person that owns the gym. Are they trying to make money? Or are they trying to provide an amenity to their clients? Because there are two separate things. If you just want to provide an amenity, you're not going to make money. You're just going to have this awesome service there that you might get a really good perk on for eating your own meals. And that's what I would try to negotiate. But make sure your trainers are on board, that they want to eat this product. They talk nutrition with their clients, or it just becomes another thing to manage. Who's eating the spoilage, who's invoicing what, who's counting the meals, when do you make deliveries, like who's calling those shots? Like, it becomes, for us and where we are now, it wasn't a good use of our time anymore.
Yeah, but you made several good points in there. Number one, you said that you were giving the trainers the discounts, and the trainers were eating them. The trainers weren't telling their clients about it.
Not as much as I would have liked.
Exactly.
And I think that goes to just like the trainers' education around nutrition and comfort level, talking about nutrition. Because I mean, when I was a trainer, that's all I did, because my background and my passion is nutrition. I just started in the training realm. And so I always wondered why more people didn't talk about nutrition, because that's where you gain leaps and bounds with results. It's
where the rubber hits the road.
With nutrition. So, I always thought this would be such an amazing resource for trainers to have, because here's all the problem solved, the convenience of it. Here's the product. All they have to do is eat it. But if they don't understand how to help people with their nutrition, the food is just foreign, and why would they promote it and try to sell it for
Yeah.
you as the gym owner?
So they were good users of the products, but they were terrible salespeople.
They were not the best.
And
some were okay.
Yeah, some were better than others, but it was hit and miss, right? Because there was no structure, there was no consistency, there was no training around.
There was no training either.
Exactly, and there were also really no incentive for the trainer from a monetary standpoint. It was just to try to get their clients healthier, right?
Yeah, and like, so that's also where they're coming in thinking, where do I make money for referring? Well, you get the food for such a discount.
Right.
And like, from my point, I just don't make much money, so I can't just give a discount on everything. Like Fit Flavors actually stopped giving discounts in general about 3 or 4 years ago, because when we really started to look at our numbers, and this goes back when where I had to restructure my business and how I was doing things, there were thousands of dollars every month that I was giving away in discounts trying to get customers. And what I was doing was I was training customers to think my product should be discounted, and our product shouldn't be discounted because it's a quality food item that is handmade, hand portioned and crafted with science and research behind it to give it to you to create a result for you. And the only discount that we give is like a buy one, get one. We do discounts for like veterans and police officers and stuff like that. But I got hit up the other day for the teacher discount. Why do you guys not give? I'm like, oh my God, I give to the food bank. I give to 2 local charities that help. We give back in those ways. And that's a way that we decided we wanted to give back, was in that way, like 10% there. We just cut the discounts, and it was a really smart decision that we made. It was hard too.
Yeah, I agree. I call it the Bed Bath and Beyond syndrome.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Because
everybody, the 25% off
everybody
coupon.
Waits for that coupon. Nobody goes into Bed Bath and Beyond without that coupon, right? So you're training your clients to wait to buy your products at a discount instead of buying full price, and you're losing all of that money because your clients, are expecting the discount, and when they're not, then they're not satisfied. Instead of just having that expectation, okay, I'm gonna have to go in and this is the price of the product. So it makes a lot of sense. The other thing that you said, and I really like, is that you need to have a single point of accountability. You have to have somebody, you have to have that ambassador there that's talking to the clients, but also managing the transactions that it's going on with the product, correct?
It's the liaison between the food and the fitness. Like, who's that person? Someone's got to be the educator and the promoter. Yeah,
because if you're not managing that relationship, then nothing's going to happen, or it's going to be happenstance, right?
Right.
So what was it about the brick and mortar that allowed it to take off? Did it change the demographic? Did it, the other thing before we get to that is that what you said about delivering it to their homes. I think it's really important. Two things I want to cover, and this is the hazard of me not having my notes in front of me, but one is that reducing that friction, right? Understanding how people think when they're talking about eating, because everybody's busy. Everybody that's coming to a personal trainer is busy or thinking about fitness, like you. They've got a job, they've got kids, they've got family, they've got all of these commitments. And the reason they're coming to you is because they can't do it themselves. So if they don't see you, they're not going to work out. And then they're not meal prepping. They're not thinking about what they're eating. They're waiting till they're hungry, then seeing what's available to them, all of those things. So when you think about delivering food to them, you need to take all of that in consideration, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other thing that you said, and I think it's a really good point, because a lot of gym owners and studio owners, they think, okay, we're going to bring in food, and yes, it's going to increase our results, which will increase our overall customer satisfaction, retention, all of that stuff. But they're also thinking of it as a revenue stream. And for me, that's like thinking of working or lifting weights as a weight loss strategy. Lifting weights is a great way to get in better shape, but it's a terrible way to lose weight, correct? So, you have to think of it, like you said, as an amenity and not necessarily as a second revenue stream. I think that's a huge, huge point. But when you opened your brick and mortar, what did you notice that changed, either from a demographic or a logistical standpoint, that allowed it to really take off?
Just my first brick and mortar, or just all of them in general?
Just in general. From the first one
well,
to
so when I first started, I did the whole personal chef thing for 4 years, where I would get your orders on a Thursday, then I'd go grocery shop, meal prep, and then deliver them all to you on Sunday or Monday. And I just repeated that every year or every week for 4 years. And what I realized was I couldn't drive around and make deliveries for someone who wanted 3 meals or 4 meals. You had to order 10. That was my minimum. If you didn't order 10, I wasn't making a delivery, because it was just too much to manage at that point. And what I was losing, I was like losing the people who couldn't afford $100 a week, or just people who didn't need it. I remember I used to like talk to some people who only wanted 5, and I would talk them into doing 5 fresh meals and letting me cryovac the other 5, throw them in the freezer and pull them out the following week, so I didn't completely lose them as a customer. But when I opened the brick and mortar, it opened up the door for the one-offs. And it was, if someone wants to come in and just buy lunch, or someone wants to come in 3 days a week and buy lunch, or come in 3 days a week, buy some lunch and take some home for the weekend. And what I noticed was we were just getting these smaller tickets. Like my average ticket is like $37 to $39. But that could range. Some people come in and buy 20, and some people come in and buy 1. But typically you'll see someone leave with 3 to 5 meals, and that is pretty typical. And some people come in multiple times a week. So I think it's just having the fresh product available. People like that. So I think that was the biggest thing, was like, it opened the door to anybody. I want to say we're in direct competition with any fast casual or health food stores.
Okay. And then we talked briefly about spoilage, or the freshness of the product, and the availability, the variety. So you want to talk about that to the listeners?
Sure. So you said freshness?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I first started, my meals were 5 days fresh. Over the course of the years, I've gone to packaging expos. I know I wanted to ship food out of St. Louis, which we actually started this year. We were shipping to 7 states, and then we closed that down in June due to UPS. But one thing that we wanted to do was extend the shelf life of our product, and the products that I brought you today are extended shelf life. Our meals are now good for 10 days with a modified atmosphere packaging, and this is how a lot of companies are doing it. It's just figuring that all out was just a huge science project. It took me about 1.5 years to actually implement this into production and convert all of my stores over to this. So now we're doing that. So now I've been able to extend the shelf life. So now when consumers come in, they're buying products that have 7, 8, 9, 10 days on them. So they love that. When you're ordering and you're getting your food, it's not good for 4 or 5 days. It's now good for 9 or 10 days. So that's been a big game changer. And then
the other thing with that is that when you were delivering to the gyms, or like we had another service here where we would order and have it available, but we would only order so many things, so they weren't getting the full selection. And then some of the freshness was kind of questionable. We had a lot of spoilage, basically, because people didn't like it. Then it would sit, and then we wound up throwing it out. So, I mean, that's another advantage.
Did you buy the meals and then you were reselling them, or?
I bought them and then
so you ate the spoilage.
So yeah, we had to eat that cost. So, but when you have that brick and mortar with all of those fridges lined up, then they get the full menu, and all of them are super fresh.
There's also too, like, you know how you like eat with your eyes first, you like wowed by certain things. Like I make sure our coolers look a certain way. When you come into Fit Flavors, they're always full. They look packed the way we position the coolers. When you look at your cooler, if it's not full, and say those meals were delivered today, but you only have 6, it just looks stale. It looks empty. How long have those been sitting there? Where if it's full and fresh, it just looks like, oh, this is busy. What is this? I think that gives off this, what do I want to say? Almost this, what's the word?
Atmosphere, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the word, but like it illusion, reputation. Like, right now, my only like, external account that I still manage, I've had for 5 years, is at Mercy Hospital. And they say like 3,000 to 4,000 people will come through that hospital cafeteria at any given day. And just to put things in perspective, we might sell 200 meals a week from there. That's not a lot. I could do that in an hour at one of my stores.
Holy smokes.
Or I'm sorry, an hour across my stores. Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
So like, it was just like, but I was driving to the hospital. I was managing that spoilage. I was doing the deliveries. I'm giving them a discount. You know, it wasn't worth it for us. But like, if you're going to do something like this, you got to be all in. I think you got to be committed. I think the owner, need to eat the product first and make sure that you like it and you would pay for it. Would you even pay full price? Because you're going to expect your clients to pay full price. And if you can't see value in it and say that you're eating it 5 days a week and spending that, how are you going to expect your clients to do it? You know? Right. So I think that's probably the first step for anybody considering doing this. And then, you know, looking to see if there's someone on the team that would partner with them to help them really try to sell this and educate the clients behind it, you know, and then try to work out the deal to where you're getting your food at just a huge discount. And that should be the perk, because like I said, there's just not a lot of margin there when there's not much money to be made. Yeah.
So I think for me, listening to you, it sounds like it's better if we have somebody who's in charge of nutrition, talking to our clients, sending them to the store, or to your brick and mortar location, so they can see the full fridge, know all the products are fresh, have a longer shelf life. I mean, you guys do this professionally, so you guys know all of those, nuances, and we can just refer out. And then they can set it up for delivery to their house if they want to. Or they can do the one-off, because you have little areas where they can sit and eat as well. And then the one location has the smoothie bar, so you can go in and grab a smoothie. So that makes a lot more sense, instead of basically losing money or breaking even on a product that you wind up doing half-assed.
It's a lot to manage. It really is. There's the logistics in the billing, that just keeping it fresh, FIFOing the cooler, just the education around the product. It sounds like a great idea, but it just doesn't seem to work. And one other thing I want to say, you were talking about, one of the things that we've done with gyms that does work, that is pretty successful, is like, if you do have someone on staff that is helping people with their nutrition, maybe even doing some meal planning, we work hand in hand with those people, like our analyst, our nutrition analyst. She will create documents for them and send them all the macros in descending order to them to help them do their programming with the meals. And we have several gyms they'll use our meals within their program, and then they just tell the clients, like, look, if you don't want to make it, you can get these 6 meals for your weekly program. Here's where it falls in. I've already chose them for you. People like answers. People like quick stuff. I eat these 6 meals. My trainer told me to get them. I can go buy them here, and then I warm them up in the microwave. I'm done, and on my way to losing weight.
And I've listened to you, and I've done all the work, and this is what I think. That's what people want. They want you to give them a product.
And if they're the right demographic and they can afford it, I mean, they're already in there spending $60 to $100 an hour training with you. They most likely have a disposable income, and they're spending their money on food somewhere else. This is a quality product that is, $8 to $12 on average for a meal. They're going to see value in that if they think it's going to get them closer to their results.
I mean, and going back to what you said about numbers, I mean, because every business should always be about the numbers, right? So if you have a small training studio, the strength of the training studio is it's built on a small membership. Most training studios have anywhere from 100 to 300 members. I mean, you're not going to sell a lot of meals with those kind of numbers. And so it doesn't make sense to go through all of that trouble, and basically you will wind up either breaking even or lose money over something that's just going to be another thing on your plate, so to speak, right? So it makes more sense to cultivate those relationships and send your clients there where they can get a first quality, a top quality product that is presented well, is fresh, all of those things.
Right.
Okay. So I feel like we've covered that. So now let's talk about, you broke your business. And several business books that I've read say that should always be your goal, is to break your business.
Really?
Yeah. Because that's the only way you grow.
Lessons learned, man.
That's the only way you grow. But for you, it was kind of a unique situation. So you want to share that with the listeners?
So right before I opened my first brick and mortar, I was 8 months pregnant. So, and I was like so pissed when I got pregnant, because I'm like, this couldn't happen at the worst time. I remember my dad being like, Jillian, there's never a good time for these
There
things.
isn't.
So here I am, all 8 months pregnant, on the floor in the kitchen, doing everything. They actually had me rolling around in a rolling chair because they're like, you have to get off your feet. But I had my child like 2 months after I opened my first store. 1 year later, I opened my second store. 6 months later, I had my second kid. 6 months later, I opened my third store. Within those 3 years, I had 2 babies and went from working out of my house with some friends to having 50 employees working for me. And, you know, I grew, I think they always say you want to walk before you run. Well, I just fucking sprinted. And, you know, we gassed. My husband is like all about double down. He's like, double down, double down. And so we just did, we were able to do all the things, but what we missed was the stuff you can't see from the outside. The culture was suffering a little bit. The processes and procedures with just employee management to how we organized the shit we were doing. Nothing was automated. We were not properly staffing our stores. We were throwing money in the trash with labor costs. Like when we look back at our labor that year, I could throw up now thinking, you know, I run my store with 1 associate, possibly 2. Sometimes we had 3 working at one time and that was just eating through
payroll's always your biggest
eating
expense.
through like our profits. And then food costing, you know, we'd known food costing and we had done some things, but we weren't managing it the way we should be. And when we had grown and having 3 stores, we became a multi-million-dollar business, and, you know, we started having buying power and we weren't using that properly. So we started working with partnerships with food vendors to get some kickback on percentages and stuff like that. So we started getting our product a little bit cheaper, and you just start doing some things different. We also went through, you know, our balance sheet and looked at what we could change, what we could get rid of, what we could merge, all those kind of things. And we start making all these changes. And we literally would cut so much cost. But what happened in the process, when we were growing so rapidly, we didn't have the amazing customer service and we didn't have the culture that we wanted. Is the customers would come and then there was no follow-up for them. So like they were like coming in and falling out. You know, now we see our customers and we nurture them, man. They are nurtured and recycled, and then they bring us back more customers. So like we had to learn how to communicate along the customer journey with them and continue to have touches through emails, through blogs, through follow-ups, just through more communication, better communication throughout the stores, throughout online, everywhere. And what we noticed is we started to retain our customers, and it took us a full 3 years to come back from this. So it took 3 years to get there, and it took me 3 years to come back from it.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in that. So let's dive into that. Where did you start that process? First, like what was the breaking point?
I don't even want to say this online. God forbid one of my employees hear this. There was just, I mean, you're a business owner. All these people are business owners.
Yep.
Okay. It was a time when we had to put money in to make payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah. Twice was like, I looked at my husband and like, we were scared to fucking death to do it. But if we didn't, you were basically saying like, okay, nobody's going to get paid. So, you know, you put the money in to cover payroll. And then it was right at the end of the year when our sales would decrease around the holidays because people don't eat well, fall out of habits.
Yeah.
But we knew January was right around the corner, and we were just hoping on that. And we hoped and we did it and we got there and it carried us by. So that was our breaking point. Like the mental and physical stress that was in my house, and like sleep. Just keeping your shit together for your employees. Like, I mean, this is the first time I've ever publicly said this. So like,
this is just for the business.
Yeah. Owners. And you know, like that is the truth. That's fucking life. That's fucking business. Like it's either shit or get off the pot. Like, and you know, and luckily we were in a position to do it. My husband has fucking kahunas, and he did it twice. And, I don't think I think I was just in such a bad mental space right there. Cause I remember I had 2 babies at this time, and he was dealing with all of the financial stuff. And like, it was a scary time. And when we had got through that end of the year and got over the hump, we sat down with our exec who was purchasing all our food. And we said, let's cut some costs. So we really dove in with food costs with him. And we we made an amazing deal with Cisco,
Mm-hmm.
and that was huge. And then we made some changes, like how we were doing our books and just stuff like that. And it took a year to kind of pan out
Mm-hmm.
and catch up. And then when we went into the third year, we thought, okay, let's focus now. I mean, on the customer. So that's when our messaging with our marketing team really started to make sense. We got someone writing blogs for us. We got consistent with putting blogs out. We got consistent with our email messaging. We got consistent with the way our brand looks, down to our graphics and our font. So when you see our stuff, you're like, oh, that's Fit Flavors. Like, and we wanted people to recognize us for that. And so I think it just takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did, one of the cool things we did too was we did some promotions with some local influencers,
Okay.
and using our network here to use them to help
Mm-hmm.
promote. And
Right.
we did
To get
support.
your message out.
We did,
Mhm.
so we supported them in different ways, which was really kind of cool. And they supported us by their platforms. And it was like July, and it just kind of, our business just started to shift. Everything was working. We had got our costs under control. I had the people under control, and then we started to nurture the customers, and they would stop falling out the bottom. We watched our customer lifetime value start to go back up. It was going down, and then it starts to go back up, and it's been maintained.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the online business, that was something we launched when all this shit was hitting the fan. So just like trying to get that going too, while all this was going on, it was so quiet and slow. It wasn't doing
Meticulous.
anything for a year. We were just trying to figure it out. And
Mhm.
then luckily when COVID hit, we had an online platform that we were doing. We were fucking ready. And my business, my stores, people weren't going out. So my stores slowed down. And what people do, they're like, well, we'll just go online and order and get it delivered to our house. We were ready for it. And man, did it save our business.
Yeah, that's awesome. But the story is that you're not alone. I think every business owner goes through that. You open up this business and you're so excited, because it's like you said, it's like your baby, right? Like, oh, and you want to create your lifestyle around that business. But what winds up happening is that the business becomes just this ball and chain, and you start to resent it almost,
Yeah.
and dread it and everything. But when you can put your business owner hat on, take your chef or your trainer hat off, put your business owner hat on, and start looking at the numbers and doing everything you said, then you create a business that feeds into the lifestyle that you want. Correct?
I mean, there's definitely, like I always say, like ebbs and flows. And
Mm-hmm.
those 3 years of business hardened me, changed me as a person. My faith has grown substantially. Just my walk with God, like,
Mm-hmm.
because I always felt like he kind of put me on this path. I told you I had a fitness studio. Did you know that?
No.
I had a personal training gym for like three years.
You know what? I think I did know that. Yeah.
And I had a falling out with my partner, and I left. I basically quit. That's how bad it got. And I like walked away from my business, and then I had to like live with that. And it was horrible. My ego kicked in, and just, I felt like a loser, and I just went downhill, started having anxiety. And, I don't think I suffered with depression. I just had anxiety attacks every day. I couldn't sleep. I was on meds. And I was like, what the fuck is going on with me? I have to fix what's going on up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really, really quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of time in prayer. And when I got quiet is when I found what my purpose in life was. And it was to help people eat better. And I just knew I had a passion for connecting the dots. Remember, I told you my personal journey with nutrition was having a not so healthy relationship with food, then finding it. I wanted so many people to have that. And the product was just a result of it. And my business is just a vehicle for me to serve others with this platform. So I kind of feel like God's had his hand with me this whole time, and he never left me. I mean, I made it through it, but like, now I'm out on the other side, and it honestly took me about a year before I allowed myself to feel like we had gotten out of it. I still felt like I didn't deserve it because I suffered for so long, and I did resent my business. People would be like, how's the business? And I'd be like, oh, it's great. And inside I'd be like, I fucking hate it. I want to fucking sell it. And I would cry so many days over it because it was hard, and you can't fix it overnight. It takes so much work, and there's people involved and personalities, and you got to get through so many people before you find the right ones. And man, we went through some people at our company, and just they work their way in, and they start conniving shit, and then you got to get them out, and they were high up, so then you got to relearn how to do their job, and it just slows you down on moving forward. So there's so many setbacks that like distract you from growing your company because you're just trying to keep it together,
right,
and not lose it. So I'm in a space now where I don't have to work in my business anymore. Like, I'm not packaging food. I'm not working my storefront. I get to work with my direct leadership team on projects with our menu, with our marketing, with our nutrition. And like that is fun. Like, that is proactive, not reactive. And I feel like now I'm in a time to gear us up for our second bout of growth, because we're in a spot where we're ready. I know it's going to shift the business again, but I'm going to be ready this time.
Yeah.
And I know there's value in what I went through, for sure.
Yeah, no
For
question.
sure.
I don't think you would be in this position. I know for a fact you wouldn't be in this position had you not gone through those 3 years. And what you said about, when you get quiet, and I think that's part of it, because we talk a lot about, or I talk a lot about on the show about personal development and how you have to get quiet. And there's lots of ways that you can do that. But what you have to do is get in touch with your soul and find out like what feeds your soul, right? Whatever feeds your soul, that's becomes part of your purpose in this life, right?
Yeah.
And so as long, for me, when I go against that, that's when I feel it, right? That's when I feel like something's off, or I'm not comfortable with something, or I'm losing sleep or something like that. When I can get quiet and get in touch with my soul, and it's like, what do I really want? What brings me fulfillment? When I do that and I act on that, then I know it. I feel it in every fiber of my being, right? So I think that's a really important part of that process, because I talk about it all the time, is that, and I've been guilty of it, is like we get into these businesses and there are babies and we're going to make it go no matter fucking what. I'm not going to quit on this. And then we give so much to it, and then we get home and then we give nothing to our loved ones, right? Our clients and our staff and our clients get the best of us, and our loved ones get the worst of us. And nobody wants to live like that, including our loved ones. So that's why I think it's really important, and a really important part of that process, in addition to learning how to run a business and getting into the numbers and finding out what works. Yes, you can do that, and you can have somebody help you do that for you, but nobody can go inside and get quiet for you. Nobody can get in touch with your soul and find out how to feed your soul. Nobody can do that for you. And for me, it's like, if I don't know what feeds my soul, and then I go to somebody and say, help me with my business, for me, that's like, not knowing what kind of website that I want, and going to a web designer and say, build me a kick-ass website that I'm going to love. And he's like, okay, well, what do you want it to do? It's like, I don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to go inside. You have to get quiet. And you have to go inside. You have to find that. And when you find that, then I think it becomes easier to find the right people to put in place. And there's a learning process with that too, because you got to learn how to pick people and put them in positions where they're going to be successful, not just because you like them or because you want to reward them, but do they have that skill set? Are they going to be happy in that position? Are you going to be happy with them in that position? And then once you put them in that position, are you giving them what they need to be successful, or are you micromanaging them? All of those things. I mean, that's part of that leadership journey that has to run parallel to actually the business education as well. I mean, so what you said, I think, is right on point with it having you grow, because then what you can do is start to work on your business in instead of in your business, and your business can start to feed your life more.
Yeah. And I will say too, like, you don't just get to work on your business when you open a business. Like, you got to pay your fucking dues. Like, and some people it's 1 year, some people it's 5 years, some people it's 10 years. And it some takes people longer to figure it out. I mean, it's all different, but like, that's one thing I think I'm really proud of myself. But it also could probably be a curse for me a little bit. Like, I am the first one to want to fucking jump back into production and drive the truck and make the deliveries. And I used to do that all the time. We would never be able to find this one position. So I would always end up kind of going in and leading the floor for that department. And I loved it because I was getting to touch the product, and it's like, I was in there with the employees. They're getting to see my work ethic. I'm getting to lead with my energy. But at the end of the day, like, I'm doing dick to put the business forward besides just getting the job done. And
you're a cog.
You know, and there, sometimes you just need to get the job done. And I truly believe that until you can build something up enough and be consistent with it, you're not going to have time to grow it. Like, you have to have it before you can grow it. You have to prove yourself before you can grow it. Like, and it takes time. So like, I mean, like I told you, I'm going on year 8, and it's the first time in 8 years where like, I don't have to be somewhere. Yeah. You know, the only thing I really do now for the business is like, I'm still very, very, very much, I run like menu design, but like, I have to be to a couple staff meetings and stuff, but everything is on my own terms now. As we go to open a new location, I'd love to get back on the ground level and work with some of our employees, like our associates in the storefront, and have them see how I talk to customers and work back in that area. Cause that's a spot I've stepped out of in the last 2 years. And I've really just engulfed myself in menu design and with my leadership team. And I really want to get back to like that customer facing thing, because I feel like I have a direct impact on our culture and what I expect from our front line, because those are our warriors. Those are the people that are wearing the Fit Flavors hats. And like, my leadership team is leading their teams and doing their stuff, but that's not their job. And I kind of feel like that's something I'm going to need to spend some time on this coming year. Because I can see, like, as we grow with more stores, that just means more people are either doing it right or they're not doing it the way I want it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 3 points. One, what you just said about your frontline people, and I say that about my trainers all the time. They have 1,000 times more interaction with my clients than I do. So who better to tell me what is going on with my clients than those guys? So that feedback loop has to be a two-way street, right? So I think I agree with you, and you have to simplify for them, you know, to where their only job should be an amazing customer experience, right? They shouldn't have to worry about any of the back of the house stuff, or, you know, address that with your customers or anything like that. So I think that's a great point. The other thing too, you said about going back to what you're saying, paying your dues, which I agree 100%. And I can get on a soapbox about that, but you have to pay your dues. But when you pay your dues, and the most important thing that comes out of that is your systems. Because I talk to fitness business owners all the time. They say, well, I don't have the system. I go, yes, you do. So you just haven't written it down.
Right. It's what you do.
Exactly. Every time you train a client, you have a mental checklist. All you have to do is write it down, and that's where your systems come from. So write that down and then train your employees to that system. Don't jump in when they fuck up, because they're going to fuck up. They're not going to do it. They're never going to do it as well as you do it. But if you can get 80, 90%, that's a win, right? And so my mistake was when we started instituting systems. When I saw they made a mistake, instead of saying, hey, you need to go back and do it this way, I would just jump in there and do it. But then that, like, they're like, I'm out. You know what I mean? It totally disengages.
It's like the helicopter parent, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to train them and trust them, and trust the process, trust the system. And then, again, I don't have my notes. The last thing that you talked about was, it'll come back to me. the guilt. You said this is the first time in 8 years where you're not working in your business, but you said you felt guilty about that.
Yeah.
And that is really, really common. You want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I think too, just like a lot of these employees worked with me when we were very small, and you know, I was a worker. I was always in there doing all the things, but I'm the owner. I pay the bills. I own the company. And so like, there's a point that I'm working to, and I've taken all these risks, so I can step back and run a business and enjoy the fruits of my labor and continue to grow the company. But like, sometimes people just see like, if you're not doing the work, they're wondering what you're doing. Or maybe that's my internal fear that I personally have. And I'm like, and I want people to know I did it for 4 years before I even opened my first store. And then I did it for another 7 years. Like, so there is all of that leading up to it. But yeah, there's definitely some guilt there where you feel like, and like when I said, when my business started to turn around and go in a positive direction, I almost felt like I didn't deserve it. Like, because I had struggled for so long, I couldn't even believe it was true. So even taking a step back when it started to do well felt wrong, felt like, oh, now you're just sitting back on the high horse. Like, no, it was just like I had figured out getting people in place and I'd proven it had worked and I'm pushing it along. Now I need to do what fucking matters. It is grow this shit for these people and like do the things that is not their job to do, you know? So it is not a good use of my time to do X, Y, and Z. You know, like I'm still doing some other things for the company. Like I need someone to be out in the community for me. Like I've yet to meet a person besides my RD who is like, wants to do it and is as good as it as me. I'm an outgoing people person. I can go from the gym setting into a white collar business office, and I am a chameleon and I can speak to people differently about my product. That is a hard trait to find in people, like, because you got to be able to talk to the gym people and be on the fitness level and then turn around and be professional and be professional. So that I still do. And, you know, that omnipresence in the community is a big thing. And like, I would love to find someone who could do that for us. But yeah, now that I've gotten some time, I'm working on a book. I told you, something I kind of always wanted to do. Never really thought it would be a possibility. And now I'm like, well, shit. After the business is doing a little better, and then COVID hit, everybody's kind of like slowed down. There's not much events out there. I'm like, you need to fucking do it. So, I'm writing a cookbook, and it's going to be my story about business, and then how I got to my philosophy around nutrition and why I have this company and why I'm trying to put it out to this world.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I call it the curse and the blessing of the grind, you know, because everybody that opens their own business, they usually open their own business because they make terrible employees, right?
My husband's like, he told me, he's like, A students teach B students to work for C students.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
No, but that is.
I'm like, that's me.
Yeah, that's right on.
I didn't graduate college. You know?
Exactly. That's right on target. But, you know, so when you open the business, you're like, oh, I got to grind. You know, I got to do everything. I got to train clients. I got to answer the phone. I got to clean the bathrooms. I got to do everything because you just have this mental obligation to yourself where I have to grind. But when the business starts to take off, you know, you still want to grind, but maybe, you know, that's not the best, like you said, the best use of your time for the business and for your team. And
I'll also say, like, I will be the first to admit what I don't know and that I need help. And I reached out to a consultant this year for like HR, because like that, I'm getting to a point now where my leadership team, they got to have the right goals, and, you know, we gotta be striving for it. And like, I want to grow this thing even more. So I need someone to help me in that. I didn't go to school for that. That's not what my background is. I have no management experience other than running my company. Like, I do food and nutrition, but yet I need to be the CEO. So like, I have reached out, I've done certain books on topics, and like, I'm seeking help. I have an amazing, me and my husband call it Rolodex. It's the people that we know that you can call for X, Y, and Z that are in our network, and like using those people to help you advance in life, and like growing the Rolodex and like building those connections. Because yes, if like, sometimes you could be small-minded as a business person. You think, I'm going to open one store and this is going to be it, and I'm going to operate and I'm going to do all these jobs. If that's what you want, great. But if you want to grow, you can't do that shit. You need to do it, get it started, let go, and then start the process of the growth. And then it, like, for me, like, I needed to grow to help this company grow. Like
Right.
I have to grow first and during this whole process. So I also felt like the book was going to get me so uncomfortable because it scares the shit out of me. But I knew once I did it and I wrote a book, like, I don't know, something about doing that is just like, wow.
Cathartic.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, fuck that.
When
I
you
did
get it
that.
out on, when you actually see it on paper, it becomes real.
Yeah. And just the fact that I did it, I could say I did that. I could do something else. So it's just like, I knew it would push me and hold me accountable. I've got a deadline and a goal. So it's like, I just want to continue to push myself to those limits. I'm in a growth group, kind of like you were saying this group is, and just like being around other women that have very much growth mindsets that are striving for more, that helps. And it's also kind of like a sounding board for all the shit.
Yes.
You know, because you can't just talk to your friends about that stuff.
No.
They'll think you're weird or like, I don't know.
You can't talk to another business owner. You can't talk to a non-business owner about your business and get that same connection. It doesn't resonate the same. Yeah, 100%. Well, this has been great. This has been a lot of information about food services, but also about business growth and personal growth, which I really enjoy. So now we get to my favorite part of the show. I always wrap up with 3 questions that I have that I ask every guest. And it's my favorite part because I think we get the best answers. And my first question is, what has been your most successful failure? And by that, I mean, at the time, it seemed like a devastating loss that you weren't going to be able to recover from, but you were able to take life lessons from that propelled you to greater success down the road.
It was definitely losing my first business.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to share a little bit about that?
Just I think I said a little bit earlier, just having a falling out with my partner, walking away from my investment. I mean, I was 22 when I opened my business. We put in $60,000. It's like my life savings. And did that. I walked out on my 25th birthday. I'll never forget. It was almost like I walked out. I was there 10 to 12 hours a day. And then I was like, I don't have a fucking job. Yeah. And I'm like, what do I do? And my husband was traveling at the time. My mom and dad didn't live by me. I was alone. I didn't have friends because, I mean, all I did was work. My clients were my friends. They were my clients. So, you know, I had no one to turn to. That's when I started having anxiety. I mean, I called 911 a month after I left the gym because I was at my house. I was having a panic attack. I thought I was dying. Like, I was so freaked out. Like, what am I doing with my life? And when I was laying in that hospital bed, I remember thinking, God, if you're real, help me. I submit. Like, I can't do this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm a loser. And I just had all this horrible shit play out. And then that next day, it's when I said, I'm going to get quiet. And I started reading and studying his word and just journaling. And I think my journal was kind of my therapist, because I wrote out a lot of like emotions and feelings, and I started to process stuff. And it's what really gave me the closure and also the hope to start over. And I got that clarity that was like, you know what? Go to fucking culinary school. You go cook. That's what you want to do. You want to help people with food? Help people with food. Why are you tripping about training? That was just a step. You've learned so much about people's nutrition with all the one-on-ones you did for the past, I'd been training since I was 18. So 7 years you've been working with clients and you know struggles with nutrition. Go do the food thing. And that's when I enlisted in culinary school, and then just kind of change gears.
Yeah. And then you got your faith, which kind of gave you a little bit of confidence.
My faith grounds me. My faith is my foundation. Like, I've even gotten more mature in my faith as I've gotten older, and going through those 3 years, there was some more emotional roller coasters with the tough part of my current business now that, like, it really tested my faith. And I would say, like, I was pretty questionable there for a while. And like, I look like, I'm going to get all biblical for 1 second, but like when I read some of the stories in the Bible and I look at the suffering that a lot of these amazing people who have stories, how long they suffered for, but their faith never dwindled and they always kept faith. It was much longer than 3 years. And it was just kind of like a smack in my face. And it was like, I think God was with me the whole time, but it really developed me, and it definitely strengthened my relationship with him. And that time, my quiet time with God and in prayer, is what gives me strength and helps me find peace in my life, you know, and is also teaching me all the values that that I think I want to have, like the fruits of the spirit, like I don't want to be angry. I don't want to gossip. I don't want to talk shit. Like those are the things that we don't like about people. So I want to be all the fruits of the spirit for everybody. But I'm also running a business. So I feel like God chose me to do this, and I work for him, and I just get to manage this.
Okay.
That's kind of how I feel right now.
Awesome. That's awesome. And see, that's why this is my favorite part of the show. My next question is, in your time, is usually in the fitness industry, but I guess you're in the food industry. You're in the fit food industry. So in your time in that industry, what has been the biggest surprise that you've had to deal with that you did not see coming?
Oh, an employee situation. I'm not going to divulge too much here.
Okay.
But it's just a unfortunate employee situation.
Okay. And then what did you learn from that?
I don't want to say you can't trust people, but it was letting people in too close and trusting too fast and being too generous and not protecting myself, and then
not establishing those boundaries right off the bat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just out of me being young and dumb and wanting to share everything and having people come along with me on the journey, but they didn't own the business. They weren't taking the risk. They wanted to be a part of it, but they weren't doing all the things that were involved with the business like I had to do. So when they were ready to tap out or get theirs, it was like, wait, I thought you were on board with me. And there were some other things that happened, and it was just, it caught me from left guard. I mean, it caught me
left field,
out of left field, off guard. And it just taught me a lot about people. And I had another incident with a manager, and I just learned, like, you better know how to fucking run your business from every aspect, and everybody is replaceable. Because, if you put too much into one person, they leave, you could be upside down for some time, and it could be a big setback.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it taught me just how to better communicate with people, and I just learned a lesson. I mean, it was something I couldn't have expected it, and it's a misunfortunate that obviously I had a falling out with someone, and it just was something really shitty.
Yeah.
But it affected me really hard.
Yeah. But I think there's an important lesson in that is business, right? Yeah. Kind of like what you said about, and that was one of the first things I learned as a trainer, is that my clients are my clients. They're not my friends. No matter how good our relationship is, at the end of the day, they're my clients. They're not my friends. My friends are my friends. And the same thing with business. Business is business. I may like you. We may get along. We may even do things outside of work. But when it comes to business, business is business. So you have to have those boundaries. You have to be professional about it. And you have to have some system of accountability for everyone. Right. Yeah.
And that was hard, growing it out of my house and being like fucking so green.
Yeah, because you want this family. You want this tribe, right? But not everybody buys in or has the same philosophy as you. And then my last question is, and we covered this a little bit already, but where do you go for your personal and professional development?
The Bible. Definitely the Word of God has definitely shaped me. There's some like awesome lessons in the Bible through just, from business to just resiliency to hope and faith, all the things I think business owners need in those dark times, because it's not all punky-dory all the time. Dude, I guess reading books, trying to think. I did love Andy's podcast, the MF CEO. It kind of changed.
Oh yeah.
Got a little more political now. I quit listening to it. Not because I don't like him. I just loved when that first started. I think I was also, I think I was in a space when I was a little younger where I wanted some personal development, and it was because I just didn't know anything. And I established practices that I still have today. So like I look for personal development in different ways. Like I said, my network, keeping my connections with people that when I need something, I can go to those successful people and get them. I get a lot of personal development from that as well. A lot of time is just in prayer and quiet time with the Bible. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it really is. Everything is in there for me.
Okay.
It really is. And that's the lifestyle and that is the life I want to live. And that's a biblical business is what I want to do. I want to build an ethical business that's serving people, that works for my family as well, but is putting good out into the world. And I think I can get a lot from there. Of course, there's some books and stuff I've read over the course of the years, but I think I was really into that when I had to level up.
Right.
And I just started reading another book today. I told you I'm implementing a new framework with my team, objectives and key results. So I'm just trying to learn as much as I possibly can about that right now, blogs and books and stuff like that.
What's the name of the book? Do you know? Do you remember?
Measure What Matters. So I started reading that one. Michael Hyatt has one too on like, it's about like creating your vision statement for your company. Okay. Man, I spent hours creating a vision statement. I just wrapped it up like yesterday with one of my employees, and it's 3 sentences, and we laugh, and she's like, it's good. I like it. It's done. And I'm like, oh my God, I have spent hours and hours trying to get here. Like written pages, gone on walks, recorded myself talking just to get that to like deliver to the company.
Distill it down to those 3 words.
Yeah. So that's awesome. And I mean, like, I feel like I'm stepping into a new chapter where I'm going to be leading my company to a new level. So I'm going to have to prepare myself and grow so I can do that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, this has been phenomenal.
Thanks.
I knew I was really looking forward to this for several reasons, and you did not disappoint.
Thanks.
So thanks for taking the time, because I know that you're busy. You've got a big company, really successful business. You got 2 kids, all of that stuff. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah,
I appreciate
thanks for having me.
And that's it. We'll talk to you guys later.